A movement within the Magic community is brewing, away from sleeves, deck boxes, and playmats, and toward connecting players to the game they love. Bringing us all together for the social aspects of this game, the friends, the fun, the gathering. Magic began as a kitchen table format. You and your friends riffle shuffling cards, making space on a lunch table or school desk or library floor to slap down vampires, serpents, and dragons in an epic battle of cardboard. Over time, Magic became more collectible, cards more valuable, conditions scrutinized. Wizards began leaning more and more into the collectability of the card game. At the same time, players began to play gently. Sleeves, mats, deck boxes, intentionally or not, physically disconnecting themselves from the game. Something was lost in the transition.
The inspiring idea behind the bar cube was to make a cube that I can carry around in my pocket. That was it.
This is Derek Gallen, a well-known curator in the cube community. In 2022, he started tinkering with an idea. He was a guest on the Cuban Chaos podcast to talk about his project.
My restrictions were I can't have extraneous game pieces because if I'm bringing something in my pocket, I can't fit much more than the cube in there. If I'm bringing something to a bar, I don't want to have to drop a dice on the floor and not be able to find it. Practicality for carrying it and then easy cleanup, easy setup, just very simple things.
The idea for Bar Cube tapped into the cube community's yearning to physically reconnect with the game that they loved.
So one of the main pieces of joy that this cube brings to people is playing cards without sleeves, because it feels like you're a kid again. And that hits people pretty hard.
Derek's idea for Bar Cube was about to take off. There is an annual convention in Madison, Wisconsin for cube players to come together from around the world and celebrate their favorite format. This event is lovingly known as CubeCon.
So my name's Dan. I go by Lupe online. I live in Madison, Wisconsin, and I'm one of the local play organizers for Cube and the Cube format and Bar Cube.
Bar Cube was an incredibly successful after-hours event at CubeCon. I don't think I've ever seen Magic players having as much joy as that evening. I called Dan, who was a part of the team who hosted the event, wanting to know more about the format.
So I think it's important to express the fact that Bar Cube is not a format. Bar Cube is a vibe, and one of Bar Cube's kind of leading principles is to not gatekeep. So there are suggestions that can be made as to what you can do to have a successful bar cube. However, all rules are made to be broken. We encourage you to break all of these rules liberally, and Sharpie errata is heavily encouraged. So things that we suggest, and this is not a requirement at all, and the whole kind of scope and vision behind these guidelines is to keep your bar top clean. You're playing Magic in a bar with friends, and there's drinks on the table. You don't have a lot of space. You don't want to be fiddling with a token box. You don't want to be fiddling with dice. Please don't put a playmat on the table. You do care about your playmat. You don't want a damp playmat. You are fine with a damp Ash Barrens. That's okay. So things that we recommend are no tokens, no dice, no sleeves, and this is all completely optional.
But Bar Cube was more than just suggestions for practicality. There was a feeling of playing Magic in a public space that really resonated with players. It just vibed. Different. Derek discussed this desire to bring Magic into non-Magic spaces.
Bar Cube is not necessarily about the bar, but the bar was the place I thought of first and created the naming convention and the kind of restrictions around the concept of being in a bar. But if you zoom out a little bit more when you think about your bar cube, there's a really strong impulse to bring Magic into a space. It's not a place where people engage with Magic. So much of our experience playing Magic the Gathering, there's so much about the experience that is innately ritualistic, in that we go to a place where you play Magic. I want the bar cube to represent a disruption in a kind of ritual that we go through when we play. I want us to find new spaces to play. I want us to make new circles together. I'm insisting with bar cube that all we need are the cards.
And I think Derek and I both feel very passionately about removing barriers in Magic to just make it more normalized. And I think that is part of the vibe of Bar Cube, is bringing Cube into spaces where you wouldn't expect it. And it catches people off guard. When you're shuffling Magic cards without a mat, without sleeves, without dice, and you're just acting like normal human beings, and people observe this and they have this kind of assumption as to what a Magic the Gathering player is in their head. They see that and it catches them off guard because they know what a Magic card looks like. Magic has been everywhere since the 90s, and they see these normal looking people, they look nothing like the guys that are on Big Bang Theory, just like jamming Magic cards with pint glasses. And they actually come up to us and they're like, what is going on here? What are you doing here? What are you playing? Why? And it just opens a dialogue, and we actually end up like accidentally recruiting people through that dialogue of, oh, are you going to be here next Thursday?
Barcube was doing more than just reconnecting people with this game we love. It was making it easier to get together and play in the first place.
People were willing to lock in as the second person because they knew we have an environment that plays 2 to 4 well. And then the third person would follow right afterwards. Because it's like, oh, we're bar cubing. And the fourth person would follow right afterwards. And suddenly we accidentally would have 8. And what we realized as a community is that Barcube is a tool to cubing more often.
Barcube has ignited a creative spark in the Cube community. Many players walking out of the Barcube night at CubeCon expressed their interest to make a Barcube. Dan and the Madison crew are working on a particularly flavorful new brew called the Prohibition Cube.
It is a cube that is thematically set in the 1920s Prohibition era. So what's Prohibition about? Prohibition is about the banning of alcohol. What's Prohibition in Magic? It is about banning one of the most addictive substances that you could ever run in a deck, which is blue magic. So in Prohibition Cube, blue is banned. You are not allowed to main deck blue spells whatsoever, but they're still in the cube, and they're in the cube as errata lessons, and you have to play learn spells in order to grab them from your sideboard and put them into your hand. But we took it a step further because illegal things should feel illegal. So we actually modified and errated all the blue spells in the cube to be incredibly broken. For example, Treasure Cruise no longer delves for 7. It now delves for X and draws X.
If you're looking to reconnect to this game and you're looking to have fun and cube more often, grab your favorite cards, Sharpie errata them if you want to, leave your sleeves, dice, playmats at home, and go experience the sheer joy that is Barcube. But don't take my word for it.
I am a huge fan of Barcube. It's J-Bro in the house, and Barcube is a super fun way to get together with your friends, even without your kids. It's a great opportunity, and I very much appreciate those who put it together, and looking forward to more of them.
Okay, what are your thoughts on Barcube? So Barcube was one of the most innovative design spaces that I experienced over the weekend at CubeCon. I think the space of this kind of cube opens up so much room for these micro environments that you can take on the go and modify in all sorts of ways that you can't do in much larger environments.
Yeah.
So Bones, what are your feelings about Barcube?
Barcube is just so unique. I love so many things about the ways that you can modify the cards. There's often no tokens, no counters. It's just so easy to grab and go with. I played Dan's Spirits on Tap, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. There was an issue with pack passing, and it didn't matter. It was just such a fun, loose environment. and I got to play a really cool card, and I got to do pretty well, and then mark it up at the end.
Hey, it's Connor, aka Adept CS here, and just wanted to extend a really warm thank you to everyone who was involved in organizing BarCube and making that event as much of a success as it was. I love reevaluating social dynamics and social context through Magic, and BarCube was a great way to do that.
Hi everyone, I'm Jeff Green. I brought my old border foil cube to BarCube night, and everything went real smooth. I think as a concept, BarCube is something we can continue to use to grow the format, and was a great part, a highlight of the CubeCon experience.
Hi, it's Anthony from UberCube. BarCube at CubeCon 2023 represented for me everything I loved about Magic when I first started playing the game. In 1997, the Air Force, my buddies and I, we just put beer on the table, no playmats, no sleeves, Shivan Dragons, Sarah Angels, and that entire vibe that came with that.
Hey, this is Michael. I love BarCube because it was the first thing that I did when I got into Madison. I made a bunch of great new friends that I got to cube with like the entire remainder of CubeCon. It was just an absolute blast.
Hey, Steve from CubeHeads. Just want to say, I think the BarCube is very important, and BarCubing is very important. Oftentimes in Magic, we get lost in skill or flavor or winnings. And to me, BarCubing is about the gathering, and I think that's the best part about Magic.
It's Andy here from Lucky Paper. We are playing some BarCube at our local bar / local game store, No Land Beyond. And I'm about to get my absolute kicked in by Dr. Teeth.
Hello and welcome to BarCube. I am Magic, and I sure do love BarCubes. My favorite parts of BarCubes are the fact that they have no tokens, they have no counters, and no sleeves. So if you haven't tried one yet and you haven't made one, try it.
BarCube captures my favorite parts about Magic. Hanging out with your friends, having a drink, not worrying about all the other stuff. It's just a game. Might as well try to have as much fun as you can when the stakes are low. And sometimes you get to bring your dog into a bar too.
I'm Nicole Dubin. For me, BarCube is about the people. It's about the environment. It's about playing classic cards, no sleeves, on what might be a wet table, and that's okay. Magic cards are meant to be played with, to be well loved, and that's what BarCube is about.
Oh hey, didn't see you there. You know, BarCube really is the pinnacle of CubeCraft. Where else would you rather play cards than with 4 friends sitting around a table with a beer, or in my case, some delicious American whiskey? And if that's not enough, where else do you get to Sharpie a Changeling Berserker and get a playable Magic card?
Hey everybody, I'm Thomas. I'm one of the organizers of BarCube Night, and I wanted to thank everyone that came out and joined us for that evening because it was fantastic. It was the right level of creativity, silliness, the right level of engagement. BarCube Night and playing Cube in any format, in any way, shape, or form, it's just all about the gathering. Just getting people in the room, jamming games, and having a good time. Look forward to seeing you next year.
Thanks for hanging. Thanks for chilling with me here. Don't touch that dial, and let's keep cubing.